Hello, everyone. It's Royce here, and I want to thank you all for. I want to welcome you all to my Royce in the House YouTube channel. Really appreciate you all being here. Do me a proper hit that thumbs up button. You hit that thumbs up button, it lets the algorithm know that people are watching the show, and it helps distribute the show to a wider audience. And if you're interested, there's a a link to subscribe right on the picture here, so we can do that too. And if you don't mind hitting that notification bell, it'll let you know whenever a new show is coming on. So tonight we're going to talk about my Christmas present, and that is Electric Lady Studios. This was a Jimi Hendrix Vision. Jimi Hendrix had this studio built. And this is a box set with 5 albums and a documentary and a large booklet in it. So anyway, let's talk about this whole thing first. I want to show all this later as well. So anyway, first of all, I want to welcome everybody. I want to welcome the members on the panel. Next to me is Michael Nolan, The Bottom Line, one of the greatest shows you're going to find on YouTube. He's just the fastest growing show I've ever seen in my life. And that's, I'm not exaggerating.
It was either that or curtsy, folks.
and so anyway, so Michael and I have been collaborating for a long time. And also I have collaborated many times with my good friend, below Michael and I, Dave. He has a great show, I Am Hop Frog.
Always an excellent addition to any panel, in my opinion.
Any panel. That's exactly correct. Yeah.
Glad to see him here tonight.
Dave, we're really happy to have you here, man. I'm always impressed with your knowledge. So let's get right into this. Let's talk about Electric Lady Studios, a Jimi Hendrix Vision, okay? And you know I'm a huge Jimi Hendrix fan. That's why I wanted to do this. But and I've got many shows. We're not going to get into a lot of depth about Jimi Hendrix's career. This is primarily talking about this album and how it all came about. And so Electric Ladyland Studios is a recording studio in Greenwich Village, New York City. It was commissioned by rock musician Jimi Hendrix in 1968 and designed by architect John Storyk and studio engineer the one and only Eddie Kramer. It was completed by 1970. Originally, the building that it was in was called The Generation, a venue that Hendrix had frequented for impromptu, performances, late night jam sessions, and has been known to, have a lot of live acts as diverse and legendary as Big Brother and the Holding Company, B.B. King, Chuck Berry, Dave Van Ronk, and Sly and the Family Stone, among many, many, many others. Instead of renaming the club and continuing with the venue business model, Jimmy's original vision for the project, actually, advisors Eddie Kramer and Jim Moran convinced Hendrix to convert the space into a professional recording studio. Okay, architect John Storyk designed each structural detail. And then from there, the origins of the New York's famed Electric Lady Studio, sorry folks, was born. It would be the only artist-owned recording studio in existence at the time. Okay, do you guys know anything about that? I mean, I know that.
Yeah, I know that when John Storyk was talking about his input into it, was first of all, he's an architect now. He was a carpenter. And with the original club, he signed up just to, for free.
Right.
It was just something that he could add to his resume. And on top of that, it was the times and everything.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Eddie Kramer had that connection. Then when they went to this next location that was going to be a club, which it never really turned out to be, they brought John Storyk along.
Yeah.
And then when they said, this whole club idea, the clubs don't do that well. Let's turn this into a recording studio and some ground floor, ground floor offices, half of the space of which went to Michael Jeffrey, the scumbag for Jimi Hendrix. He was as bad for Jimmy as I can't remember. Alan Klein was for the Beatles. So anyway, then John Storyk got into this whole thing. Eddie Kramer is throughout this whole process. Eddie Kramer is the other unsung hero. He's like almost deserves equal billing in this story, right along with Jimi Hendrix, because he made Jimi Hendrix Vision come true, but he did it by tapping into everybody. He insisted that his engineers were musicians, so you could tell the engineer to go back 2 bars, right? So then Eddie Kramer believing it, and again, it's the times, and Eddie Kramer's a genius, all right? He tells John Storyk, he goes, I'll tell you what, now, since it's not going to be a club, you're going to design the studio. He goes, what the hell? I know nothing. And Storyk said, this isn't like the day of the internet. He says, it isn't even like the day 20 years later when you could go to a library and find a book on how to build a freaking studio. Nobody knew how to do it. He was injecting air into the walling material, which evidently is available today as a product, but back then you had to know the ingredients, mix it up himself. Pretty damn smart for a carpenter, man.
Oh,
what do you think, Dave? Because Dave is sitting here going like this, so I know he's aware of this story.
Oh yeah.
Let me ask a quick question. Can anybody see me? All I see is this avatar.
Nope. I just see an avatar.
All right, folks. Well, let me continue, and then I'll work on that for a minute as well. I don't understand what's going on here.
Trust us. There it is. Okay. My God, you scared me, Royce.
I scared myself. Are you kidding me?
Oh, Lord.
Okay, so like I was saying, the only musician-owned studio at the time, Electric Land. First of all, I want to welcome Dawson. How you doing, Dawson?
How you doing, Dawson?
Great. How about you? Happy New Year, and great to see everyone today.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, I like that Hendrix wig. I need one of those.
Yeah, I just got back from the barbers today, and I thought it'd be a too late for the New Year.
Hey, Dawson, do you know Dave next to you? I am Hop Frog, his channel.
Dave's not here, man. Oh, hey, Dave, how's it going?
Yeah, good. How about yourself?
Great.
Yeah, check him out if you're not familiar with him. He's a good guy, very knowledgeable, just like you are.
Dave hasn't ever heard that joke on this channel before.
Okay. So, all right. So let's continue with the story here for a bit. Okay. First of all, let me say hi to a couple of friends that have recently joined us. Catherine S., Eric Schultz.
Hey,
Angela,
Catherine.
how are you?
Eric.
I appreciate y'all being here. And Gloria, I just scrolled up the chat because I've been missing from the stage here for a bit. Happy New Year, Gloria. Gloria's wishing us all a Happy New Year. Mike, good evening, everyone. Why, thank you, Mike. Much appreciated. Eric Schultz, Angela.
And Brandon is listening in from the sidelines. He's at work. But
okay. Thank you, Brandon. We appreciate that. So, so if we get back to the story here a little bit, on August 26, 1970, Jimi Hendrix hosted a grand opening of his psychedelic studio Lair to fellow musicians and friends. Guests included Stevie Winwood. Don't you love Stevie Winwood? What a talent. Stevie Winwood, Eric Clapton, Ron Wood, Patti Smith. In fact, Patti Smith told a funny little story here, right? Okay, there's Dave's got some little. Okay, so Patti Smith tells kind of a funny little story here. Okay, she put on her straw hat and walked downtown, but she was on her way to the grand opening, with Ron Wood, Clapton, Stevie Winwood, and Jimi Hendrix. So she put her straw hat on. She's walking down to the studio, and she couldn't bring herself to go in. This is Patti Smith talking. So in her award-winning memoir, this is where she told the story, Just Kids. The memoir is called Just Kids by Chance. Jimi Hendrix came up the stairs and found me sitting there like some hick wallflower and grinned. He spent a little time with me on the stairs and told me his vision of what he wanted to do with the studio. He dreamed of amassing this. This is kind of a well, I can understand this coming from Hendrix. He dreamed of amassing musicians from all over the world in Woodstock, because this was in New York, in Woodstock, and they would sit in a field in a circle and play and play. It didn't matter what key or tempo or what melody. They would keep on playing through their discordance until they found a common language. Eventually, they would record this abstract, universal language of music in the new studio. He looks at Patti and he goes, "The language of peace, you dig?" And she goes, "I dig."
Yeah.
But, okay, so today, Electric Lady Studios is made famous by Jimi Hendrix and the classic 70s sessions with the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Stevie Wonder, David Bowie, AC/DC, Kiss, Patti Smith, who we were just talking about. So the studio was supposed to be Jimi Hendrix's new home. Tragically, however, by the time the studio was finally complete in 1970, the guitarist was only able to spend 10 weeks there before his death, September 18th, 1970. But by that time, Hendrix had filled 2 closets full of tapes. That's all he did, just night and day, was record. He filled 2 closets with tapes, floor to ceiling, with all the jams and stuff we had done, Eddie Kramer told Rolling Stone magazine. So anyway, Electric Lady Studios has maintained its reputation as the most hallowed grounds for recorded music. It is the oldest working and thriving recording studio in New York City. Recent projects include The Bleachers, Frank Ocean, St. Vincent, Adele, Japanese Breakfast, John Batiste, Cairo, Taylor Swift, and Lord. Okay.
Oh God, they let Taylor in. Oh God. Oh God.
They charged her extra.
I almost didn't want to say that, Michael, because I knew. So it's a good
bummer,
thing.
Man. Bummer.
Okay, you can't tour the inside, and that kind of bums me out. But the general public is allowed to tour the studio. Not allowed to tour the studio, but they can see it from the outside. Well, that's a surprise. Okay, so there is a documentary. It tells a story. And Michael, you watched that today. I'm really excited to hear about that. It tells about the studio's construction from the perspective of the musicians and the engineers who worked with Hendrix. Okay, Electric Lady Studios was one of the first. Again, I said this earlier. Artist-owned recording studios in the world. So in the 2000s, it got renovated because it got a little worse for wear, so it was renovated. So anyway, Michael, is this a good time for you to tell us about that documentary you watched today?
Oh, I loved it. I think Dave probably has seen it as well from the way he was affirming.
Yeah, I've read a lot and I've seen clips and stuff. So
yeah. Okay, first of all, is it the best documentary I've ever seen? No. But it is a celebration, more than a documentary. I mean, it's done in documentary fashion. There's no doubt about it. All the usual players are there to be interviewed.
Right.
But to me, it's a very sanitized version.
Okay.
Of what went on, leaning very heavily on the side players, the designers, and their importance to it.
Right.
And everybody, every time Michael Jeffrey is mentioned in this documentary, all of their comments about him are rather muted. He was a horrible man. He was out to rip off anybody that wasn't Michael Jeffrey at any given time. All these people in the documentary know this. Okay, they know this, and nothing about it is really said. But a bit of truth did come out when what was her name? She's Electric Ladyland herself. What was her name? Let's see. Her name was Linda Charlin. Okay. She was the studio manager. She became known as Electric Lady by the staff and by people who habituated the place. She was directly hired by Jim Marin, who's heavily into the documentary, who is the president of Electric Lady Studios.
Okay. Yeah, I mentioned him
And
too.
he was in at the very beginning, Jim Marin. He invested in it and became a corporate partner at the very beginning with Jimi Hendrix and Michael Jeffrey. Okay. So he was there. She knows all of this, yet we hardly get anything. But she does explain the layout of the studio. And when she did, she couldn't help but mention that half of the upper floor was devoted to Michael Jeffrey office, his office. But the problem was, then she kind of connects and corrects and says, well, it's actually Jimmy and Michael's office where business was conducted, right? So, they paint a real pretty picture, and there's lots of good stuff in the documentary as far as knowing how the process happened and everything else.
Right.
And there's some great, Eddie Kramer really comes off well in this, and everybody pretty much supports him. Here's the thing. He was basically Jimmy's co-producer. Jimmy may be producing at this point what he wishes, but at any given time, Eddie, he relied on Eddie to tell him the truth. And Eddie would stop and go, especially at one point, I think Buddy Guy was in there tripping and doing his rap shit and stuff. And Jimmy laid on the counter with his hat, his big hat, said, I wish he'd just shut the fuck up, So basically, Eddie Kramer at that point kind of let the evening going, and they just cut all the Buddy Guy crap out and edited him into a compact thing that they could work on, right? And Eddie was also known to say, Jimmy, you're going down a rabbit hole here, man. You had the groove 10 minutes ago. And Jimmy would go, what do you mean? He'd go, let me show you. And he'd go right to the spot. Mm-hmm. He knew right where it was. And then he'd go, right there. That's the riff. That's the riff. That's the groove. That's the jam.
Nice.
Right? So there's lots of that kind of stuff. And and to me, Eddie Kramer just went up a notch because I didn't know that he had that tight of a relationship. They talk about his ability both as an engineer and as a musician. He helped write some of the material on Carly Simon's first album that she was allowed into studio, what is it, A, was Jimmy's proper studio, and the other studio is for other acts. Mm-hmm. And if Jimmy was in town, nobody but Jimmy played in that. That was his home.
That was his home. Yeah,
but he was away.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was away in Hawaii with Michael Jeffrey. So Eddie Kramer kind of had his way. He didn't have to fight Michael Jeffrey there.
Right.
And so he quickly snagged Carly in, worked really close to her, kind of like Alanis Morissette's producer, worked real close in crafting her songs and helping to almost rewrite them and turn her into a great songwriter, by the way. Right. That's kind of what happened with Carly Simon. I bought that record the time it came out. I don't recall ever really being aware that it was recorded at Electric Lady Studios. That was kind of, was my synopsis of what I saw.
Let me say one thing and you can continue. I left this comment up for a while by Steve Robertson. Cheers from Canada. Good to see you, Steve. Had a full-size poster of Jimi Hendrix on my bedroom door as a teenager. And the reason I had to leave that up, I also had, a black light in my bedroom, a huge Hendrix poster. And then I had the poster that I was really surprised by. I got away with having up as long as I did. It was like the Lord's Last Supper, a big, big poster. I mean, halfway down the wall. And it was just gigantic pipe with all these hoses coming off it and going to everybody that was sitting at the Lord's Last Supper. I don't know how I got away with that as long as I did.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway, Steve, thanks for sharing that. Michael, go ahead and continue.
All in all, if you get a chance to see this film, It's definitely, if you're a Jimi Hendrix fan, you know what comes across, yeah, besides the heroics of Eddie Kramer, is Jimmy's vision. Now, here's the other thing I had to say about the film. Where do you think Jimmy got all of his freaking and at the same time why the Stones had a mobile studio coming,
right.
why Pete Townsend had his own home studio? It's because everybody saw EMI treat the Beatles like the kings they truly were, the true kings of rock, by the way, and treated them like royalty. The Beatles could live at Abbey Road, then called EMI Studios, and create. And everybody wanted that freedom. Jimmy was a major Beatles fan. That rubbed off on him. Only Jimmy was such the stoner tripper. He truly meant every word, groovy, man. No, I see a grievance of stars on the horizon. And he was sincere. He lived the psychedelic rock star
he was
persona. It wasn't just a persona with him, man, you know? Right. And so that vision comes very well across in the documentary. So if you're a Jimi Hendrix fan, want a little additional information on what his biggest dream was in the years leading up to his death, this film's the film for you.
That's cool.
Okay. I'm hoping that's the same documentary I have in this box set. Hey, Dave.
What's the title of the documentary, Royce?
Well, I'll be taking it out in just a minute, but I haven't. I haven't opened this yet.
Yeah.
The documentary is. Let's see. Also includes critically acclaimed documentary. Electric Lady Studios, a Jimi Hendrix Vision.
That's the one.
Yeah, okay.
That's exactly the one I'm talking about.
I'll be watching that right away.
Right. Very good.
Dave, you look like you were trying to show something.
No, he's got tons to share.
Okay, go ahead.
I had something I was going to share. But going back to Eddie Kramer real quick, he was a classically trained musician, so he was able to help Jimmy in the studio pick up on things. Jimmy's like, this is what I do. He's all, I understand. His musical knowledge helped him, pretty much write stuff for a lot of people. But this, I wanted to share right here. This is out of a book called Jimi Hendrix, The Ultimate Jimi Hendrix Experience, The Illustrated Story.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
There you go. Let me get it right there on camera. Yeah. Oops. Come on here. Hang on.
It looks like it's contagious here tonight.
Let me turn my camera back on. There we go. Okay. And there is Eddie Kramer.
There he is. Yep.
And Jim. The other Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Now keep that up, David. Now everybody take a look at that. Now, if you look at where their hands are and the desk stops, okay, there's a little shelf about 12 inches and then it drops 5 feet to the floor where they put a couch that went along the wall of the back of that console. So, and then of course the studio was open after that proper, and the couch was designed for every one of Jimmy's friends to have a place to sit as he recorded. Not get in the way, because when Eddie, see how he's looking out, he can't see their heads. The top of their heads are below him, but he can see the musicians in the studio as he's doing exactly what he's doing there.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And by the way, when Dave was talking about his musicianship, there's a portion in the documentary where Eddie plays a piece of piano that was recorded there at Electric Lady, and he said it's Jimmy playing it, but he was the one that taught. It was like a jazz chord or something like that. And sure enough, Jimmy had to invert the chord, which you can do on piano, right? You can put the root up above the fifth, on any, or you can keep it, as a root note that a lot of people are comfortable with. So you can mess and variate chords. And sure enough, there he was doing it. Eddie Kramer inspired songwriters that he worked with.
Mhm.
Okay,
Oh, yeah,
just
yeah,
plain and simple.
right, right. Well, let's see, Dawson.
Yep.
Are you a Jimi Hendrix fan?
Yes, I did my homework earlier. I
Oh,
have
good.
my Jimi Hendrix Electric Ladyland classic albums DVD. I watched.
Oh,
Just going to
nice.
rewatch some of that.
Yeah, yeah,
I listened to half of the album today, but
yeah. I
on
love
my
that
phone.
album.
But I do have the CD version of Electric Ladyland.
Yeah,
Side D on that album, by the way, it has got to be one of the most perfect sides in rock and roll. Side D, the what we would call side 4.
Or yeah.
Oh,
Well,
that's my favorite side.
Right.
You
It's
know,
got to have Voodoo Child's Slight Return on it.
it does.
Okay.
And All Along
On
the
that side of it.
Watchtower.
No, I have that.
Yeah.
I have that in vinyl.
Yeah.
I also
Okay.
have the some of the songbook. I would mess around with it on guitar sometimes.
Right.
Maybe Voodoo Child, a little bit of Crosstown Traffic. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 20.
There's my copy I just picked up.
Yeah. Right on. I have
Love
22 or 3. I think Hendrix. Well, what do you call this? You call this one album or 5 albums?
Whoa.
That's a lot.
I
I,
have one
I
big
call
album.
that I call that a village, brother.
And then I've got that velvet covered 8-album box set up on the top of my shelves over there. So between that and this is 13, but I've been just counting them as 1 so far.
And no, thing about Eddie Kramer, he was like the kind of like a musician's best friend, but he would also push them as well in a electrifying direction. He's kind of like the producer from the Beatles. He's kind of like George Martin, but with a wah pedal and probably some more distortion. So I'm a fan of some of Kramer's recordings.
Nice.
I guess probably one of which would be Ace Frehley's first album, the solo album. I'm not exactly sure if that was recorded in Electric Ladyland, but Eddie Kramer did definitely have his stamp on it. He definitely has his stamp with the musicians. But he does allow the musician's voice to go through in the recordings, and he'll play a part, but he won't take over the whole thing. He'll let the musician express themselves, just like that.
Yeah,
Nice.
Kramer's a big fan of room sound, and that comes out in the documentary as well. Just to kind of add to what Dawson was saying, he would mic the room so like Mike's 20 feet away from Jimmy's amp so that he caught the air in the room.
Gotcha. Wow, awesome. You know,
Which he would also do with Led Zeppelin, by the way. We've talked about that before.
Mhm.
Yeah, Groovy Lisa just made a great comment. Jimmy is perfect in every way. I am a big fan. Hey, Michael, did you notice me calling myself a big Bob Dylan fan on the show we did last Sunday? And then somebody came on and watched your remake of it, you know, on your channel, and said how you know, it was kind of like a how dare you call yourself a big Bob Dylan fan when you only have 3 Bob Dylan albums. And I was like, is that how, you know? Well, some people don't have any Bob Dylan albums or Led Zeppelin albums or Beatles out, and they're still big fans.
Well, in my opinion, Royce, if you've got one album by a group and it's like one of your go-to albums, that it's like you'll play Abbey Road and then go to this album, right?
Yeah.
That makes you a pretty big time fan of that group.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, I've had, you know,
but it just, I think the difference is I don't think you're a Dylan apologist like a lot of freaks are these days, where the sun sets on his pimply little ass, and you know.
Now, Michael, I know you don't like bios.
No, it just his voice. I love him as a writer and everything, but the devotees these days, especially since this movie's come out, oh my God, it's almost impossible to watch a live stream these days because they're all crawling up his ass. Oh, yeah, so. And more apologies. Well, it's not the perfect story, but you know, it's because when you got to be entertained. You're too stupid to know the real story. Oh God!
Well, yeah, Eric
Give me a
Schultz.
break.
Eric Schultz is right on. He's not talking about Dylan. Hendrix was only with us for a short time, but
Yeah.
he was so great that he left us with a body of work that is still being studied and enjoyed well
Yes.
over a half a century later.
Well said, Eric.
I could not agree more. I have
I
so
agree.
many. I have more Jimi Hendrix. Here's a guy that released 3 studio albums. I have more Jimi Hendrix albums than any other artist. And I mean, I have tons of Led Zeppelin, tons of Beatles, but I have more Hendrix than anything. And I'm still buying Hendrix, as evidenced by Electric Lady Studios, 5 album set, which also includes the documentary. And I'm really excited, and I'm unboxing this here in just a bit. Okay.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it, Royce. I think you're going to enjoy the documentary. I think most people would.
Mm-hmm.
My criticism
sure
is it's a little whitewashed. That's my only criticism. But I also understand why it was whitewashed, and that was to celebrate its continued existence unto this day, and to give you an overall view of how it came about without getting into some of the backstories that more hardcore rock fans are quite aware of. And so if you're going to be looking for that kind of stuff, exposés on who did what wrong, when, where, why, and how, you'll be slightly disappointed. But as just like a nice homogenized gloss over of what that studio was about and some nice insights to Eddie Kramer, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah. No, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah. But anyway, the bottom line is, I don't want to get off base and go back into Dylan, but I can't remember a time when I wasn't a Bob Dylan fan. I've always liked him. And you know what's really interesting, if you really listen closely, the songs his voice changes from one song to the next, you know? I mean, it's not, sometimes it's kind of nasally, how many roads, you know, but other times it's completely not like that in the least little bit. And somebody brought that up last week too, when we were doing the show, but I think he's got a good voice myself. I know I make little parodies of him like I just did, and just because I think it's fun to do, and that's the only reason, not because I don't like him. But anyway, let's continue with Jimbo Hendrix, the main man here. I've been a fan of Jimi Hendrix since the first hearing is, I think, 1967. You know, since the first song I ever heard of his, and I have never ever not been a fan of his. I don't think there's, Zeppelin's probably getting close, but I don't think there's any band I've listened to more than anybody's album, CDs, 8 tracks, whatever, that I've listened to more than I have Jimi Hendrix. I don't think, bar none. That's why for so long I described him as my number one rock artist, Jimi Hendrix. Now I've listened to a lot of Led Zeppelin.
A lot of people will agree with you with that choice, and it wouldn't be my choice, but I certainly wouldn't argue with anybody who made that choice. He truly was one of those upper echelon guys, right? So it's hard to argue with that. I'd put Zeppelin above him, the Beatles above him, but he's also above him. There's the Experience, who only had 3 albums, and so you kind of got to take Jimmy in his totality a bit, and but he'd be really high, and he's in my top 5 guitar players.
I've got probably 23 of his albums, and one of them's an 8 album set. I count that as one. I have all kinds of double albums of his. I've got this 5 here.
I did pick this one up from.
Which one is that?
This is
Jimi Hendrix,
the Essential Jimi Hendrix.
Oh,
it's a compilation. I got this at one of Patrick's auctions, and for a really decent price. And it's got all the, this is, if you just want to listen to, this is the perfect album to show your son, why do I like Jimi Hendrix? Well, listen to this album because it's got all the great stuff.
I know. I've got one called Rare Hendrix, where it's just old blues tunes before anybody even knew who he was, and I love that album.
That's a good album.
Really a fun album. You got that one too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's a great album. Look, hey, Jersey Devils, calling you out here a little bit, Michael. You clearly resigned from the local Bob Dylan fan club. Hey, great comment, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
so true.
Eric Schultz started listening to Dylan in '73. I've gone through Dylan phases. Well, you know what? And we've all gone through phases. I mean, a constant for me has always been Hendrix and Led Zeppelin. Other constants have been, Creedence Clearwater, some other Eric Clapton stuff, Blind Faith and things like that. And just so much of the classic rock from the late '60s.
And Royce, I do want to reiterate, like I said on the last stream, I think he's Bob Dylan is one of rock's greatest songwriters. My favorite all-time Jimi Hendrix track is "All Along the Watchtower," written by Bob
love that
Dylan.
Song. Absolutely love that. Yeah, written by Bob Dylan. That's right.
Jimi Hendrix, when he recorded that song, he then took an ownership of that song. That's how absolutely essential that recording. You know how the Beatles often, a lot of people, there's no point in re-recording their stuff, even though people did. It's because the essential version was usually the Beatles version. Well, in this case, the essential version of Bob Dylan's song is Jimi Hendrix's, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know you agree with me. Beyonce killed it on Blackbird. I'm kidding.
Oh God!
I already know your opinion on that. It's the only reason.
Oh Lord, God, Beyonce is beyond me.
Okay.
In the Classic Albums documentary, they mentioned that Hendrix he was into Bob Dylan, and he always carried around an album or the songbook with them. And they went to record that, and Noel Redding, he went on to say that he didn't really like the version, but he played on it. He played it anyways. But it definitely happened to be a good classic, and it's a good way to nearly almost end that album. So kudos to Hendrix on that one.
Yep.
Yeah,
agreed.
Absolutely. Groovy Lisa, I got into Hendrix as a kid. Sadly, wasn't around for Jimmy in the '60s, and that was a whole different era, Jimmy in the '60s. But he wasn't around very much longer. He died in '70s, so you pretty much spanned his career. But anyway, I have I can't even count how many I have right now. I mean, I probably have, like I said, counting my boxes as one, I probably have at least maybe 23 to 4 Jimi Hendrix albums.
Wow.
Awesome.
And I've got the 4-album set live in Maui, right?
Oh yeah, I remember when you got that. That was about a year ago, wasn't it? Year and a half?
About a year and a half. Yeah, it's been a little while. You can find it sometimes at Walmart in a single album set, but this is the 4-album set, the big booklet, and And so anyway, that's a good one. And this 8-album set I got up on my top of my album shelves is good. And I'm really looking forward to listening to Electric Lady, because they said he was in there day and night for the short amount of time he had before he died. Mm-hmm. And he really produced 2 closets stacked to the ceiling with recordings he made. That's all he was doing, was recording day and night. So anyway,
and you wonder why compilation albums and new albums come out by him.
Right. Right. There's still new stuff.
Oh yeah,
that no one's heard. I don't think anybody's heard anything on this Electric Lady Jimi Hendrix Vision album here, if I read that correctly. Okay, let's see. So why don't I go ahead now, and I think I'll just unbox that bad boy. Okay.
All right.
I think it's time to unbox this. Yeah, if I don't lose my mic again. Literally. Okay. Okay, Electric Ladyland, a Jimi Hendrix Vision. Okay. Pretty cool cover here. I'm going to read what's up here real quick so everybody knows going on with this album. Okay, let me get it out of the.
Show that front cover again, Royce, real quick. I just wanted to see it.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, that centerpiece is part of the poster, I believe, for the documentary, as I recall.
Good.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Well, what it says here is this is the authorized Hendrix family edition, of course, and it's 5 LP set plus 1 Blu-ray, also a Blu-ray and 5 LPs. Okay, and 38 previously unreleased recordings. 38. Okay. Made at Electric Lady Studios in 1979. Okay, and it's in 5.1 surround sound mixes of the entire First Rays of the New Rising Sun album, which I have a copy of that album also, and also includes the officially acclaimed documentary Electric Lady Studios, A Jimi Hendrix Vision, 48-page booklet filled with rare photos, Hendrix handwritten song drafts, and comprehensive liner notes. Okay, and this is pressed on audiophile grade vinyl by Quality Record Pressings. Okay, so
they also show some of those photographs of his original song lyrics and stuff in the documentary too.
Okay, great. Okay, so let me get my knife out, and I got a little head start cutting this, so I wasn't butchering things when the show was on. Okay. All right. We are unboxing, baby. That's how my show initially started. I was unboxing vinyl with my camera on a tripod and unboxing an album or two at a time, sometimes 4 or 5 at once, but anyway, I have some really old videos that go back a long ways. So let's see if we can get these things out. Okay. All right. They are all out right now. So what do we have here? Okay. Let's start out. We've got this. Okay, look at that. Here's the Blu-ray DVD. Electric Lady Studios. Jimi Hendrix Experience. And now what does this say? Yeah. Blu-ray, you name it, baby. We got it all here. The way these glasses fit. Okay. Small writing here. Okay. The Blu-ray includes the full-length documentary that we've been talking about, as well as a special bonus feature, 29 songs newly mixed in 5.1 surround sound. Okay. So you've got, I'll read some of the songs on here. Freedom, Valley of Neptune. I had Valley of Neptune, I don't know, back in the early 2000s. I bought that when it came out. Easy Rider, Angel. When I'm talking about the album Valley of Neptune, okay, not just the one song here. Angel, Isabella. Jimi Hendrix had a white Stratocaster named Isabella, and every time I see that, I think that's where the name of the song came from. If anybody knows that for sure, please confirm it. Lover Man, Night Bird Flying, My Friend, Dolly Dagger, Polly Gap, Straight Ahead, Drifting, Beginning, Stepping Stone, My Baby, New Rising Sun, Earth Blues, In From the Storm, Room Full of Mirrors, Astro Man, and Belly Button Window, all on this Blu-ray DVD. That's like 20 tracks. 20 tracks plus the documentary are on here.
Wow.
So
nice.
I am like really excited to have this set here. Okay, I'll set that over there. Let's take a look at the thickness of this booklet here. This is like insane.
Wow.
It's nice.
Yeah. Let's see if I can. Let me find a couple of pictures to show here. You got a big booklet like this. I mean, look at the console and stuff inside the studio. I don't know how well that's it's console and stuff. I don't want to tear anything up here.
Which shows you how Eddie would look over the studio and not see all those people sitting down below him. Lovely.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that photo is shown in the documentary.
Oh, okay.
That's Electric Lady herself. Sitting on the floor doing her work as they
Yeah.
did in the day. You
Right.
know.
Right. Anyway, I'm not going to show every picture in this. I think it's 28 pages. But let me find a couple of standouts. Here's Hendrix possibly playing Isabella, his white Strat. Let's see. How much are these tickets here? 1970, $6.
Wow.
$6 ticket right here.
And that picture of Jimmy playing that Strat, they actually show live footage of him playing.
Okay.
That's a still from the live footage they show in the doc. So that's cool.
Look at these blueprints for the Electric Lady Studios.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah. See, now take a look at that. Hold that up for a second, Royce.
Sure, absolutely.
Now, folks, take a look at the set. You see the 4 rooms. Look at the round, that almost circle. Of course, wide hallways leading into it. This was the idea. The original club had these curved walls. They worked with that stuff, and it had this like giant UFO roof that was almost suspended or coming down.
Oh my
And
God.
so that circular section there was control center, folks.
Okay.
You've got an eagle-eye view of the area that they really worked a whole lot of the magic.
Wow.
That's Studio A. That's Studio A.
I'm going to spend a lot of time looking at this booklet later. Here's some more pictures of the construction as it's taking place. Construction, demolition.
Wow.
Let me see. Let me find a couple of more cool pics and we'll go on. Okay. Here's one we just looked at moments ago. This one right here.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Bring that back up, Royce. There's a photo on the left side, upper left. Oh, right there. Yeah. See how the building comes out? That was one of the things that they designed to go with it. And the studio manager had a camera. Now, this is 1970, folks.
Right.
Not everybody had a camera. And because so many people were trying, you see the street view there. It looks like a tent coming out. That's actually brickwork. That's brickwork. And when you see it up close, it looks really nice. And so they would buzz people in because they'd either recognize staff or if they didn't recognize the person, because they had people, need to speak to Jimmy. Well, what's your name? And the guy said, Joe Blow. He goes,
right.
Well,
yeah, come right
Jimmy,
in.
you know any Joe Blow? No. Scram. So that's how they kept the riffraff out.
Right. Might be that same picture we've looked at. All right, let's see if there's a super gem. Well, any picture of Hendrix playing a Strat is near and dear to me.
Again, that's a still from some live footage that you'll see in the DVD.
Okay. I know I have some Hendrix paintings hanging in my entryway, and one of them was Hendrix at Woodstock, and I called a friend of mine who painted my Jimmy Page playing the double neck, which is out in my entryway.
Right.
And I said, I need a Hendrix. And he goes, well, I've already got. I said, you got any ideas? He goes, well, I already got a couple of them. And he sent me pictures of them on my phone, our phones. And I said, no. I have to have Hendrix at Woodstock with that white leather with the fringe hanging, jacket that he wore at Woodstock. And so I found some pictures online. I sent them to him, and he painted it for me.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really, and this isn't like a just a numbered print. I mean, these are paintings. Okay, Dolly Dagger. Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of great. Look at here's Hendrix, one of his patented, playing behind his heads. All right, there's Jimmy. Well, this booklet, I'm telling you, it's a big booklet here. Let's see what else. There's so much stuff in here. Looks like Hendrix is done. All right. Let's
Well,
see.
that's how
One
those
more.
two closets got filled with stuff. I mean, Jimmy lived and breathed there those 10 weeks, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. All right. Well, we'll put that aside now, and we'll start looking at the rest of this package here. I'm going to leave the shrink wrap on. It holds all the hype stickers and everything. Anytime I can make that work, I do, but it's always, sometimes it's wadded up in the back of your sleeve. Okay, so here's Jimi Hendrix. This is disc 5. So we'll go back to front, whatever. Disc 5. Okay. Another picture of the console there.
I like a lot of the red and black themes I'm seeing.
No, I do too. I think they're totally cool. We've got Disc 5 has Bolero, Hey Baby, that's off New Rising Sun. Drifter's Escape. The other side has got Bleeding Heart, an alternative mix. Drifting, an alternative version. Astro Man, an alternative version. Roomful of Mirrors, an alternative version. Same with Angel, an alternative version. Okay. All right. So then we have, I think that's a great picture too.
Yep.
With the console
Another
again.
thing that the documentary brought out is Jimmy was known to walk 12 blocks at a time all over New York with his guitar in hand because he lived and breathed playing guitar, and he didn't want he didn't want to be left without a guitar. As a matter of fact, was it Buddy Guy or no Buddy Rich? He just showed up at a Buddy Rich concert with his guitar, and Buddy Rich went, "Who the fuck is Jimi Hendrix?" You know, he had never heard of him.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
You know, minutes later, he's jamming with the guy. You know, because Jimi Hendrix was the ultimate consummate guitar player. The guitar had to be near him. He had clubs that would have one of his guitars in reservation just in case he might show up. You know. Yeah. What a guy. I love him because he lived his life the way that his public persona indicated. You know, he wasn't fake.
Yeah.
That was Jimmy.
That was Jimmy. Right.
And
that's right.
And there's a reason why we're still talking about him 50, 60 years later. You know,
I
had to plug in my iPad.
Right on. In my opinion, he was the greatest guitar player of all time. You know, I mean, I like Jimmy Page and stuff, but I mean, Jimmy was a real professional.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but
okay.
Like I said, he's in my top 5. There's no doubt he's a rock god guitarist. You know.
Right. Okay, this is disc 4, sides 1 and 2. We've got Midnight Lightning Beginnings, Dolly Dagger, mix number 2, Belly Button Window, take 1. Disc 4 from side 2, we've got Nightbird Flying. These are all alternative versions of other stuff that's been put out. Nightbird Flying, Freedom, Straight Ahead, In From the Storm. Okay. All right. So let's look at this one now. This is disc number 3. And on disc number 3, look at the mic stands in the back and stuff. Okay, so on disc number 3, if I can get that out, we have alternative version of Freedom, Valley of Neptune demo, Drifting alternate version, Messing Around, take 17 of Messing Around. Okay, on the other disc, other side, we have Tune X Just Came In. That's take number 8 of that song. Dolly Dagger, an alternate version. Come Down Hard on Me. Take number 15 of that song. Heaven Has No Sorrow, a demo. And you know what? I haven't even pulled a single album out yet. So we got the nice plastic covers from Quality Pressing Recordings, you know, and this is on audiophile vinyl. Okay, let me make sure I put this in correctly. I don't want the accidents.
Now, another thing about Electric Lady Studios, if you notice in these photos that Royce has been showing, sometimes the photo is tinged blue, sometimes it's red, sometimes it's orange. And the reason was Jimmy insisted the walls be painted absolutely blazing white. And he insisted on a lighting system, the very first of its kind. Now, every studio has these lighting systems to create a mood.
I didn't know that.
So he would change the color of the walls, and he demanded that. He got the experts to do it. Once again, that was his vision. He wanted to create a mood, whatever mood the musicians were in, he wanted them to sustain that mood by their surroundings.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Right.
First of its kind. No other studio had this. Remember, at 2 years before this, the Beatles were bringing in lava lamps and black lights into EMI studios because it was so stark white in there, and it was a horrible. And they would lower the lights and have that. And John said it got to the point you'd get sick because of the black lights, but they were trying to create. Jimmy knew this and insisted that wasn't going to be a problem in this absolutely new, phenomenal step in recording studios. Yeah.
A quickie here, Steve Robertson. Thanks so much for stopping by. Appreciate you being here. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at this one now. We've got Dolly Dagger takes 17 and 18, Loverman, Freedom take 4, Angel take 7, Beginnings take 5, and a long medley on side 2. I think that I'm looking forward to hearing that medley. Let me tell you, a long medley on side 2. Okay, so. We've got one more of the 5 albums to show, and again, cool cover. And these are heavy cardboard too. These are heavy, like a lot of his box sets. The stuff's usually on a heavy. Okay, Michael, is this that circle you were talking about here?
Yes, it is. That's the roof.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, they looked like it was kind of in the middle of the plans, wasn't it?
Looks like the bottom end of the Starship Enterprise as it would fly over your head, you know?
Yeah. Hey, Eric, I think so, man. I think so. I've been saving it. I unwrapped this Christmas morning, and I've been saving it for the show. Just like my 8-album set of Jimi Hendrix with the velvet cover that was only made in 2020 for albums. It's still available on the CD cover, but so that was like 24 years old when I unboxed it last February, and the shrink wrap had never been off, and I saved it. I saved it for hitting 1,000 subscribers last February, and I unboxed it. And I was saving this one for tonight.
Awesome. He didn't have to shame Royce into this one. That's so nice.
Hey, Eric's wanting to know what happened to my Dirty Harry Royce picture in the background. I do have it over here. I'll be bringing it back out.
People note that kind of detail, Royce.
Yeah, they do.
Let's be consistent now.
That's right. Yeah. Jimmy did a lot of recording in his last year and a half. Can you imagine how much more music he would have created during the 70s? It's staggering. He's got so much stuff that's still coming out. Okay, Dawson Walters. I have a left-handed parakeet. Okay. All right. Well, that's okay. Let me just. This one's got Easy Rider on it. Valley of Neptune. Straight Ahead takes 1 and 2. Astro Man take 9 and 10. Drifting takes 1 and 2. Nightbird Flying take 25.
Wow.
On the other side, Earth Blues, Drifters Escapes takes 1 and 2. Astro Man take 14. And Farther Up the Road. Okay. So that's the album. I have tons of Hendrix albums, but this is the only one I was planning on, showing or unboxing or talking about pretty much. So anyway, let me make myself small. Hey, Michael, have you noticed that we're missing a couple of co-hosts that we typically see? And I haven't heard a word. I haven't heard a word from them.
I was curious myself, but we've got a great panel up tonight.
We have a great panel up tonight.
Yeah. So I do miss
Dave
Nick and Chris on the panel, but damn, we got a couple of replacements for them tonight anyway.
We got a couple
top notch.
Excellent replacements.
Yeah.
That are welcome to join all alongside them. We can hold six people up here.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say one thing really quick. It's very fitting. It's very fitting that Jimmy had that UFO shaped thing over the console because he was very interested in sci-fi and UFOs. And
yeah.
So it fit perfectly. And talking about posters, I had to pull this down. I've had it for a while. But, it's kind of big.
There
look
you
at
go.
that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah.
And speaking to what Dave just said, Jimmy also, they had bought these real nice, expensive doors for the place, right?
Okay.
And Jimmy went in and they had windows, so you could see in without opening it. It's a studio. Right. He said, "No, that won't work. I want round windows." So they had to throw out these doors that they. Do you know how much this studio cost to make in the end? $1 million in 1970
that's
money.
Crazy. Yeah.
All right. What is that, like 3 or 4 or 5 million now? Something like that.
With the inflation,
unprecedented.
Times that. Yeah.
Jimmy would go out and record at the LA Forum, right?
Yeah.
And then come back with $100,000 in cash to pay his crew there because they hadn't been paid in a couple of weeks. The ones that were showing up to work were doing it on a wing and a prayer. All right. So Jimmy reluctantly went out and did gigs he wasn't necessarily all that hot to do to finance this. At one point, he had to take in a loan against future earnings on his publishing. Okay, to get this. So think about what this is like. This is as famous a story to me as the EMI story.
Yeah.
If you think about it. And it was all done within a very short period of time where EMI's greatness came over 2 or 3 decades, really. I mean, they had great sound capabilities back in the 30s and 40s, man. And 40s anyway. I'm trying to remember when they may have even gone back before that. But, by the time the Beatles came along, they were a top-notch recording studio that was built in the old traditional way. And here comes Jimi Hendrix and goes, "No, man, we're going to do it in the flower child kind of way, man." And so, I mean, even small details like round windows was a major concern to him. It didn't quite match his vision,
Things. No, I knew a guy that he built a round house just down the hill from me, an actual round house at a block.
Right, I love those.
And he put there was a couple of walls that he framed, moved over an inch, didn't like the space, took it
Make
down.
Me small, Royce. Took it
down, and moved it over, 2 inches the other way.
Yeah,
lived with it for a couple. He moved that wall. I think he said like 15 times, a couple of inches and fractions of inches before he finally left it alone.
Yeah. I love bold statements in architecture, and I love the look of the Electric Lady Studios. Everything about it is, there was a lot of love, and not just from Jimmy.
Yeah.
Eddie Kramer brought in people who cared. I mean, they
Yeah.
had a drummer from who was that band, and he lived across the street, and he was in a famous band. Let me check this out. The drummer, let's see, Dave Palmer, drummer for the Amboy Dukes. Okay,
Okay.
and Eddie Kramer said, "You know what, Dave? I think that you would be better served to be." Not that he was a bad drummer. As a matter of fact, what it was, Dave Palmer made some cassette recordings. Now, cassettes in those days weren't high speed or anything, folks.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
what Bruce
Right.
Springsteen had available for the Nebraska album. Nothing
Right.
like that. And even that album had to be specially treated to produce and to bring on to vinyl and CD. So what they
Okay.
did was they would carve the sound as they went along, right? And he was amazed with the cassette results. And he said, if he could get that kind of sound on a cassette, I need to
Yeah.
have him over. So he started conning him, telling him, you'd be better. So he became second engineer to Eddie Kramer, right?
Okay.
And there's
Yeah.
a couple of more that they stole. Like I said earlier, Eddie Kramer wanted engineers who were musicians, not
Yes.
Makes
engineers
sense. Yeah.
like that were found at EMI. Often
Right.
those engineers, until the Beatles started grabbing people, after Norman Smith left, and started grabbing these young bucks,
Right. Right.
they had nothing but warfare going on with those people. When they
Right.
did all that
Right.
backwards tape for Tomorrow Never Knows, they had people in white coats standing out in the hallway with pencils that had the loop going, and they
Right.
hated
Right.
doing it.
Right.
It was like, but here at this studio, everybody had a pound of flesh invested
Yes.
into
Right.
it. For it to succeed meant they all succeeded. And that's the one point I think the documentary brings out wonderfully.
Okay. I can't wait to see it. Let me do
Yeah.
a couple of shout outs here. The first thing I want to do is give my friend Dave, I am Hop Frog, a big shout out. Dave joined my membership right before the show started. So Dave is
Good
now
for
a
you,
member
Dave.
of my membership, helping support the show.
Welcome
Um,
aboard.
Yeah, welcome aboard. Michael's been one for a long time, as I am on his channel. We really appreciate you joining the membership. All proceeds go back into the show to try to make it better equipment, better lighting, better everything. You
Yep.
know. So anyway, so that's where we are. Membership's kind of fun to join. You've got I put videos on there that will stay on there for a long time, and then eventually I'll release them out to the public. But so you get to see the videos first, and one of them recently broke 1,000 views once I released it to the public. So I try to make them as good as I would any other video. So thank you so much, Dave, for joining. I really, really appreciate you.
My pleasure.
Oh, thanks.
Absolutely.
Also, we've got Jersey Devil here. I don't think I've mentioned his name. Bill K, my good friend Bill K. We go back a long ways. We go back to when that picture, the Dirty Harry, Dirty Royce picture that Eric was asking about, was made on that show that we were both on together a long time ago. Yeah, Bill K, Caitlin, there's just a bunch of us that go way back. And so thank you all for being here. And appreciate Dave. I am Hop Frog. Appreciate Dawson being here. So anyway, we'll move on, folks, and I'll make myself regular sized. Eric Schultz.
Hey, where did I go? I can't see myself.
Well, here, all I got to do is make you bigger. Oh, wait.
Where? The formula worked.
This is kind of cool, though, this fireplace. So, Dawson, what turned you on to Hendrix music?
So I think it was just when I was getting into rock music around 10 years old. I'm listening to the Rolling Stones, Satisfaction, the Beatles, Hard Day's Night, and I was like, hey, who else is in that zone? Is it Jimi Hendrix? So, and I heard purple haze, probably
No.
like most people.
Oh yeah.
And then that was just like, whoa, this is cool. And I was kind of, well, intimidated almost. It took a while. I had to kind of ease myself into listening to Jimi Hendrix, but
Yeah.
it was soon after around that time. I was taking guitar lessons. My guitar teacher downtown, and so he has like his own kind of place. So I go in there and I look up and there's like a broken guitar and there's a Jimi Hendrix poster, and I'm like, who is this Jimi Hendrix guy? Like, whoa.
Right.
It's just more like kind of a fictional character almost, and
Right.
one thing leads to another, and then you end up getting into to Hendrix. But it was just one song in the '60s, and another one, and one of them was Hendrix, and
Yeah.
Purple Haze was the introduction.
No, nice. Well, that's a great
God, I'd
introduction.
love a dime for every time I played Purple Haze live.
Same with me.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was kind
love
of an anthem for us teenagers back in the day.
Yeah. And it was pretty easy to learn, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, I didn't learn it the way you learned it, I'm sure, but I still played with it.
Yeah, we all learned how to play it the wrong way first, and then we figured it out.
Yeah.
Now you can just go online, and watch a video that take you
Yeah.
note by note.
Well, everybody played it the wrong way except Jimmy. But, you know.
Exactly.
Right. That's
But
very
you know what?
true,
It
right?
was a crowd pleaser. If things kind of slowed down, you'd
Yeah.
whip out. Because I basically played in original bands. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we always had like 10 or 12 cover songs,
Right.
a couple of Bad Companies, a couple of Eagle cuts, couple of Hendrix cuts, a couple of Beatle cuts, just to kind of, oh yeah, you see people bolting for the door. You go, all right, let's whip this one out,
Right. Right. Well, anyway, I really enjoyed opening this up. I'm going to enjoy even more listening to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to track that down for myself.
And watching this.
Yes.
Oh, you'll enjoy it.
Which
Yeah.
also has the the documentary on it. So no, I'm really excited.
And for
You know
you
what?
folks,
This
the
was the
documentary is available on, iTunes. So it's got to be available on other platforms as well. And it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to get a digital ownership of it. It's about $15, $14.99. So
No, that's exactly right. In fact, my wife found it, right before the show, and
Right.
I just didn't have time to watch it. I would have. There was a couple of things like that were on that I would have loved to watch before the show, but I was actually still busy working on the show. I worked, this contractor. I worked yesterday, so I like to get these shows kind of set up a couple of days in advance. So today I didn't have any of that done, and kind of consumed me. But anyway, I'm happy that we did this. I'm happy you guys are all here. I'm happy
Yeah,
we've
me
got such
too.
a wonderful chat. And let me say one thing while we still have a bunch of people in the chat. And Joseph Blue's here now. Thanks, Joseph. Thanks. I appreciate you
Hey,
being here.
Joseph.
But anyway, everybody, please hit that thumbs up button. There's a thumbs up button down below. You can refer to it as the like button. And the more likes you get, the better your show does, to be honest with you. I have one little 10-minute show I did 4 days ago, and I put it on, and it got something like 170 likes, and I wound up with something like 26 or 2,700 views, and it actually gave me 28 subscribers from that one
Very
show.
good. Very
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
So that's the power of this. If you get enough likes, and 50 is that first milestone, they keep trying to find your audience for whatever it was you've done,
And you guys, by doing that, you've helped Royce get from the awkward 1690 to 17.2. All right. So now he's got 1,720 something subscribers. Thank you.
Yeah, and before the show was 1,726 as I monitor it once in a while.
See?
Very
As
nice.
any good content creator does, Royce.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No
Well,
guilt
you
in
have to
that. I
see
do mine.
what's working and what's not working.
That's right.
And
That's right. Matter of fact,
what's
if you don't
amazing?
look at your analytics, you're doing yourself as a content creator a
Yeah.
disservice. Because if you look at them
That's exactly
in a
right.
computer way, just look at it with no emotion, it'll tell you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong
Right.
every time.
And the other thing is, it's like I did that one show that got close to 67,000 views and 350 something subscribers months back. And I kept going, wow, how did I unlock the secret of the algorithm then? I haven't been able to do it
Yeah.
since. And the truth of the matter is, you don't concentrate on the algorithm, you concentrate on your audience.
Yes.
The algorithm wants you to win. If you're doing well, they're doing better because they're getting paid for the commercials that they're getting to play on your channel. More than you're getting paid for it. Okay, so they're your friend.
98% of the time, if your videos aren't doing as well as you wish them to do, or as well as you think they might deserve to be viewed, the fault always lies with the content creator. When I look at my worst failures on my channel,
Right.
and I look at them with just a cold view, every time I go, you idiot, why did you even make that video? Or,
Right.
oh God, your delivery was way off. God,
Right.
Nobody hates my channel worse than me. I mean, I look at it and I go, oh, I'm pulling my hair out.
Right. No, I hear you. No, we all go through that.
It's funny how it's always my fault, Royce.
No, I know. And, I'll tell you something right now. Last week was a good week. I even put "Blowing in the Wind" on by Bob Dylan, a 15-second, watching my, with my phone, looking at the album cover and my stereo, the disc spinning. 15 seconds, all you're allowed to play for music. And I got 10 subscribers from that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. 15 seconds short,
Yeah.
So Bob Dylan was like huge for me this past week.
Yeah, because we were talking about this. It's a news item, and sometimes there's videos out there. Sometimes I just dread to do the news item ones because it's like I feel like I'm cheating to get views. So I have this thing. It's got to be something I want to talk about, But otherwise, I could look at the headlines and just do the most viewed headlines and do a video on it. But then I look at it, I go in because I'm looking for material to talk about. I do my research, but then I turn around and all of a sudden it's like, but I don't want to talk about that today. Right now. So
why, Catherine? Yeah, no, I hear you.
If I was smart, I would probably, go ahead and do that. But I've always maintained my channel's about what I want to do. I don't want it to become a job. I want it to be what I feel like talking about, And sometimes that's what a lot of people want to talk about. And I'll get an amazing amount of views. And sometimes I'm fighting for 2,000 views for my channel size. That's not a whole lot to write home about, but to me, I come from. I remember when I got my first 1,000-view video. To me, there's nothing loser about 1,000-view video. 1,000 people tuned in. My God, very thankful for that. So anyway,
man, you got it.
Yeah,
absolutely. So anyway, Catherine, leaving. I wanted to say goodbye to you.
Good night, Catherine.
Good night, Catherine.
Always good to see you here.
Jersey Devil's here. What's next week's topic is what Jersey Devil is asking is what's next week's topic. I think the only album that I haven't shown of Led Zeppelin's is I call it Led Zeppelin, and that is Celebration Day with actually John Bonham. And it was a tribute to Ahmet Ertegun, who was the original starter of Atlantic Studios in New York, who signed them, signed Led Zeppelin. So anyway, tribute to that, John Bonham had died. Jason Bonham came in, played for Dad. And I'll tell you what, I've seen Jason Bonham now in concerts, An Evening with Led Zeppelin, it was called. And what a great, great show that was. I'd go back to see that in a heartbeat, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was all Zeppelin stuff. And Jason just knocks it out of the park, you know, doing all the Zeppelin stuff. Anyway, so so that was
Sounds
great.
good.
And so I've been putting that off, you know. I through one company called Merch Bar, I already paid for the three or four album set plus a DVD of Celebration Day. I think we're going on 7 or 8 months, and I still haven't received it from them.
Right.
And then at Tower Records, I'm on the waiting list to be notified when it comes in. And I went on that list before I actually paid for it in advance to Merch Bar. So I have no idea when I'd ever get it. I'm not gonna, you know, it's like $50 for a 3 or 4 album set, and you know, with taxes and everything, I think the Merch Bar thing was about 60, but it was like cheap. If you go on YouTube, because you just not YouTube, but eBay, because you have to have one, you can pay probably $250 and up for it.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen those.
I just can't go there. And it just kills me how much of the stuff I saw at one time in the used bins that I passed over.
I know.
I don't know why I'm adverse to showing CDs like I'd love to show vinyl. But you know, I've been showing more CDs lately. They say the CDs are poised to make a big comeback this year, 2025, and get popular again. And
well, one of the reasons is you can buy them like you used to be able to buy albums for $1 a piece. So there is a surge in that market. I've heard about.
That's absolutely right. I'll be standing there looking at the albums, you know, at 27, 29, 32, and I'll look down below me, and there will be the CDs, and it'll be like $6.99, $9.99, and it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, but I think we can't wait any longer. We've been pulling this off. There's a grand story behind it. Whether we have an album, an LP album to share, I think we should go to town, wrap up Led Zeppelin for this little round of Led Zeppelin that kind of got waylaid for a few weeks.
Yeah, let's go ahead. We're going to do Celebration Day.
Next week. I think there'll be an audience for that because there's a great story. There's a great film we can discuss as well as the album itself. So there's a lot to talk about, and it'll take a full episode.
There's a lot. Yeah, absolutely. No, there's a lot to talk about with Ahmet Erdogan being kind of the focus of the show.
I agree.
So, there's a big story there. So anyway, guys, I want to thank my panel, Michael Nolan, the bottom line, straight down to Dave, I am Hop Frog, straight over to Dawson. And thank you, guys. I really appreciate you helping me out here. Couldn't have done it without you. And I want to thank all my friends in the chat. I appreciate each and every one of you. If there's anybody still in the chat that hasn't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. And again, hit the like button. That's hugely helpful. And I've been getting a lot of likes lately. I don't always break 50, that first milestone, but it seems like I'm always 40 plus. And then maybe a few weeks later, I finally break 50. But they want you to get to really actually push the show out there to a wider audience. They don't want you to spend 2 weeks breaking 50. They'd like to see it in a couple of days max.
Yeah.
Royce, if I may,
yes.
Just hit that subscribe to the house button and tap that top button, and you'll be notified of all.
Nobody does this better than Michael. I haven't wanted to steal all your lines right off the bat. I've been working my way in there a little bit.
I'm shameful. Shameless.
Thank you for having me on, and it's quite the gift. Great way to start the new year with an unboxing. Definitely appreciate that. You don't see that too often, so that was a good gift. And check out the Rampage video channel.
Yes, check out.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm glad you're self-promoting anytime any of you guys want to. We all do that, So anyway, appreciate it so much. Let's see. We got Gino here. That's a Hendrix treasure. You know, it really is, Gino. Thank you. Thanks for being here too. Um, we appreciate you all. So Piccolina, good night, Piccolina. Thank you so much. So anyway, we're going to say, look at this. Look at this. We're going to say good night now. And that's what's happening in Royce's world tonight. Thank you all so much for joining us. Good night, guys.
Good night, everybody.